Thank you for joining us on a brand new episode of Motorheads. Today we have someone very special joining us who we've been actually very keen to get together with. And I can tell you I'm speaking personally there as well because it's been a while since I've had the chance to catch up with Mayank Parikh. It's great to see you.
Pleasure is mine, Siddharth.
And we are
nice meeting you.
It's always great to meet you as well. And I should quickly tell our viewers that we're also at one of the flagship stores for Tata Motors in the heart of Mumbai. So this is literally one of the important, let's say, nerve centers for you. So thank you for allowing us to come in here and spend some time with you. Let's begin by asking you that most cliched question, which is, you know, it's been a few months now that you've been at Tata Motors. The amount of time you had spent obviously in the industry has been vast, and you've spent a lot of years at Maruti before coming here. But what's this initial period been like for you? What's the big takeaway?
I think very interesting period, many takeaways. Siddharth, when I joined, first thing I did was I met a lot of stakeholders, customers, dealers, partners. One very good thing which came again and again was an inherent goodwill for the brand Tata. Everybody wants it to win, which is extremely good and positive signal. Also, here's a company which dares to dream big, dream for India, dream for the world. I think these are very fundamental things, and we are on a process of discovery and rebound. And I think initial results have been better than what initially I thought. For example, last 7 months we have been continuously growing, almost 2-3 times that of market. Last month we grew by 30%, market was flat last month. But these are early days. I know the challenge, I know the destination is far, but it's within sight.
You knew the challenge before you joined, in the sense
certainly.
It was quite apparent. It's been a few months before that, in fact several quarters before that, where the problems in a sense had begun for Tata. But part of that must have been part of the reason why you did join. I mean, having a big challenge like that.
I love challenges. You know me for a long time, and it was opportunity to turn around a giant is good, and really unlock the inherent value in the brand Tata.
What makes it different today than maybe, I don't know, 10 years or even 5 years ago, from an environment point of view, from a consumer point of view? How different does a car company need to be today than it was in the past?
I think in the last 10 years or so, many things have changed. First and foremost, I think the competitive intensity. From less than around 60, 70 model, now we have 192 models.
True. Yeah.
Very importantly, these models are in relevant segments. I mean, let's say a decade back, only 2-3 players had compact cars, compact sedans, but now almost everybody is there. Second big thing is the size of industry. It's more than double, more than 2.5 times what it used to be. I give you some data, Siddharth, and of course you know, but just to talk about it, 2005 to 2010, industry grew at a CAGR of 12.3%. That was the time everybody thought that this bull run will never end, and if I may use the word, irrational exuberance happened, and everybody invested in capacities. But immediately after that, from 2010 to 15, the CAGR was 6%. In this, and very often this experts miss out, from 11 to 15, CAGR is only 2%, almost flat market. Many reasons. So this is another thing change. But most important change according to me, which I think is almost tectonic, is the consumer profile. Ours is a very young country, all of us know. Now 50% of India was born after 91. Now that's a fact, but what is different is this is a generation which spends more time on Facebook than face to face. How do you talk to them? How do you engage them in buying some products like this? Their buying decisions are very different. Our data says that in a decade, the average buying age has declined by 4-5 years, which is a very big demographic difference. So you have to address their buying needs, you have to anticipate what type of thing they buy, how they want to buy, what is the level of, so this is another change I think. Buying process has changed. If I may use the word, around 10 years back, the influence of digital and social media was very marginal.
Negligible, yeah.
Very marginal. It was just happening. Just as a banner on a prominent site was claimed to be a digital marketing.
Digital strategy.
Digital strategy, if you may. But now I think with the emergence of e-commerce is becoming so big, I think the influence of digital, social media is become really, really big. So I think we can keep on counting. So 2010 looks like before Christ to me, actually, much far away.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it actually, because you're right. It's just a massive change ever since then.
Massive. Can you imagine, let's say 10 years, 15 years back, a concept like a mall was not existing. Now, a mute point is a customer who gets such a superior experience when he buys a shirt worth $1,000. will you accept a worse experience buying a car worth 5 lakh rupees? You had to provide her a shopping experience worthy of it. So, communication, I told you, it's not enough just to put an advertisement in paper. You have to be on the digital space and engage with customer. This young generation doesn't like talk down to them, this is good. You have to engage, answer their questions, and I think I am convinced that this is just beginning to happen. We are just seeing perhaps the tip of the icebergs. The whole shopping experience, buying experience, the way they buy, what they buy will change.
Yeah. Two instant things that sort of spring to mind from what you've just said. One is related to brand, which I'll ask you second. But the first thing is that Tata Motors is a very different player compared to the others, because while everything you've said applies to the passenger car division, it doesn't necessarily apply to commercial vehicles, and that's obviously a very large part of what you do as a company. How do you firstly then try and balance those two, because in many ways both face different kinds of pressures and similar pressures, and clearly for Tata both have been under pressure. So how do you, what's the narrative for commercial vehicles?
Very simple. You got to be customer centric in any business. You're talking of car, bus, truck, I'm talking of any business, right? You're rightly saying that the customers of the two are very different. In fact, one basic difference in commercial vehicle is the buyer is not the consumer. In an automobile product, largely the buyer is the consumer. So the way you market your product, way you position your brands have to be two different. The trick is, especially in our case, to leverage on the goodwill built by the Tata brand, largely because of the commercial, but still keep it separate and keep excitement of automobile. That is the trick and that is the challenge. That's what we are trying to do.
Yeah, it's always difficult to sort of have the winning formula, isn't it? Nobody knows what that is.
Nobody knows, but there are possibilities actually. It is not straightforward, do this, do, but there are possibilities, and we are seeing, for example, I'll give example. We launched a car called Zest last year, and it was coming after 4-5 years, Tata Motor launched a new car. In the meanwhile, competitors launched maybe 20-30 cars. Now, some important things which came. Idea was that we are launching a car for the first time in this segment. Will the new consumer buy this? For last 4-5 years, our cars were predominantly being purchased by fleet operators. Question, what hypothesis to be tested by, will individual buyers buy? We launched first time a gasoline engine, Revitron, a company which sells 95% in diesel. Will petrol be accepted? Now, answer on both these things is very resounding yes. We found very interesting things. In Zest, we found customers whose average age is 32 years, which is, I think, less than what industry average is. These are individual young customers, and the gasoline share is 50%, 55%. So I think yes, this is doable, but this is a marathon race, or in cricket language, it's not a 20-20 game; it's a test match. And you have to play accordingly. It is slow, step by step. As long as direction is right, which we think is right, we will reach the destination.
So the second question then is to do with some of this, because when you look at it from this point of view of talking to this new kind of consumer and figuring out what's the best way to reach that consumer, how much of that narrative needs to be focused on the brand, because there's a certain amount of rub-off that even the consumer wants to look for when they adopt this brand or bring it into their lives, and how much of it needs to be focused on just the product itself outside of the brand almost, because this consumer doesn't have the time to get into the whole brand story. They just want to know what's the product, how's it giving me what I want, and move on. So how do you then keep both these things in mind, because both are important for you?
Actually, quintessentially, brand is nothing but the experience. Experience with product, experience with all touch points with the company, and you need to create a emotive aura around that. Okay, it's on one way it is different from the product, but I think it subsumes product also. You can't have a brand devoid of a product. Okay, so yes, it is very critical to have. So brand is a product which is world class, which is best designed, which gives best attributes, which is priced appropriately, and then you create emotion around that. So we are working, Siddharth, on all these pillars. And to begin with, historically our rating on the customer service was not very good. I think we did a lot of work. Last year in the JD Power service, we climbed from almost nothing to 4th rank, which is, I think, quite good, and we are not happy with that. Of course, we want to do better for the customers. Trick in this is to listen to customer humbly, carefully, all the time. Keep your antennas high in the air and feet firmly in the ground to understand what a consumer is saying continuously about you and keep redressing this. So we have made a very strong product portfolio going forward. There was a hiatus of almost 4 or 5 years where we didn't come out with products. Now every year we will be launching 2 new products, 2 new exciting, even as we talk, our 3 design centers based in Pune, UK and Italy are working almost 24/7 to develop these products. We have to do a lot of catching up. But I think we are confident once you address that product things, customer engagement, we are sitting in one of the best customer engagement centers in heart of Bombay. This is a product of last 1.5 years, and as we talk, almost 300 odd showrooms have been upgraded like this across the country, and going forward we'll do more of that.